Donald Trump is known all over the world. In the United States, the Pyramids of Giza, the Eiffel Tower, and even the icy snow-capped mountains of Antarctica. He's loved and hated all over the world. I bet even you, watching this movie, know who Donald Trump is. Well, guess what? I have a theory. Donald Trump has achieved the pinnacle of success mainly because of his daily routine. His routine is a lot like a dream. It will sit, rot, and fade away unless you pick it up and do something about it. Donald Trump is so successful because of his daily routine, and if I try it, will I become successful like him? Hopefully this movie helps you experience what a week in the life of Donald Trump really looks like. This is my story. Okay, I think that's it. Waking up at 5:30 was very hard to say the least, but once I changed and got into the day, it got much better. But as I was changing into a suit, things felt very weird because this is the first time in my life that I've woken up this early on purpose, and the first thing I've done is put on a suit. And wearing a suit at 5:30 a.m. is fine, of course, but I just felt very out of place in my own house. Donald Trump usually wakes up between 5:30 and 6. Then he changes, and then the first thing he does is watches the news and gets caught up to see if anything has happened overnight. While I was watching the news first thing like Trump does, I actually saw Trump on the news, answering questions to the press in the first few hours of 2025. After Trump catches up on the news, he writes important emails and goes on social media, mostly X, and makes comments about the news that morning. Now this morning I didn't post anything online, I just wrote a couple emails. Once I finished writing emails, I sat down to read. And believe it or not, Donald Trump is actually a very avid reader. One of his favorite books, which I read this morning of all time, is the Bible. Now, I don't know where Trump is with the Lord, but as for me personally, I identify as a follower of Christ and want to become a man after his own heart. Trump has stated that the Bible is a source of comfort and guidance for him, though he has been a little vague about how deeply he engages with it on a personal level. But I chose to pick it up and read it this morning because I thought that would be an excellent way to start off the week. And once I had finished reading the Bible, I looked out a window and saw that light was starting to show outside, which meant that sunrise was soon. Now, since I saw that the sun was about to rise, I thought it was a perfect time for breakfast. Now, if you know anything about Donald Trump, you know that he loves fast food. No better way to start off the week than by going to Now, since I wasn't mic'd up while I was ordering my food, this is basically how it went.
Good morning, welcome to McDonald's. What do you want?
Hey, yeah, good morning. I was wondering, could I get a sausage egg McMuffin with a medium coffee, 3 creams, and 3 sugars?
And is that all?
Yes, please.
Okay, your food will be out shortly. Please wait over to the left.
And as I was waiting for my food, I looked around the restaurant and there was literally no one there. It was only me. So if you ever want to have the awkward experience of being the only person at McDonald's, go as soon as they open on a Monday morning. After breakfast, I brushed my teeth and then made a few business calls, which is what Trump does after he eats breakfast. So Trump spends the rest of the morning having business briefings, meetings, phone calls, and online meetings. Now, obviously, most of these meetings are related to his business because, after all, he's a billionaire. But he also has time where he sits down with his political strategists and consulates. And once Trump finishes his morning business, he goes straight to lunch. Trump has stated in previous interviews that while Chinese food is not his favorite food, he does really enjoy it. So that's what I decided to have for lunch. Orange chicken and rice is one of the greatest food combos ever. And I won't lie, this is some of the best food I've had in a very long time. And when Trump finishes eating lunch, he goes straight to the TV to watch the news to see if anything else has happened he can make a comment on online. But nothing really exciting was happening in the news, so after I saw it, I turned off the TV and went straight back to business briefings and meetings. I was just writing more emails, talking with friends, and doing homework. Writing emails and doing things I had to get done took me the rest of the afternoon into the early evening. And I wouldn't say it was really boring because these were things that I had to get done anyway. And when Trump finishes his afternoon meetings, he goes straight to dinner. And for dinner, I ordered out some pizza, which is arguably Trump's favorite food, tied with McDonald's. It's been reported that Trump's favorite pizza is Domino's, but since there isn't a Domino's nearby and Papa John's near me was having a sale, I decided to go with Papa John's, which is personally my favorite type of pizza. And I'm sure, as you've probably already guessed it, after dinner Trump watches more news and sees if anything interesting has happened, anything that he has to react to. And it's honestly been a very chill time watching the news today, because watching the news is something I'd never do at all. But am I missing out in any way by not watching the news? Not at all. There's just something very chill about watching the news early in the morning and in the evening. Once Trump catches up on the news, he turns on the TV and sees if there's any college football on. College football is a sport he enjoys and follows closely. Trump watches the games and really appreciates the energy and competitiveness of the teams. And on occasion, when games are not scheduled and he has some time, he'll just watch college football highlights on YouTube. He finds entertainment and excitement in the world of college football, oftentimes discussing the games with others or reflecting on standout performances. This is a big way for Trump to unwind from his day and enjoy a break from the demands of his usual hectic routine. After watching college football, Trump usually takes some more time to relax and unwind from the busyness of the day. He often enjoys spending time with his family, engaging in casual conversation, or sharing moments of leisure. And in some cases, he reaches out to his family members by phone, making a point to check up on them and their well-being. This time in Trump's life is usually marked by a sense of comfort and personal connection, providing a break from all the demands of his day and allowing him to focus on the ones he loves. And once Donald Trump finishes his daily dose of college football and connecting with family, he goes to bed somewhere between 12 and 1 a.m. I woke up pretty early, around 5:30 a.m., which is something I'm definitely not used to, but it felt good to get a head start, because most of the time I wake up at 7 to 8 and feel sluggish. But I woke up at 5:30 a.m. with a purpose today. But there was just something about waking up at 5:30 that was rejuvenating. It was very chill that early in the morning because there were no cars going by, no loud sounds, it was just all quiet and peaceful. Anyways, I kicked off the day by catching up on the news, like Trump does, to stay informed on what's happened overnight. After that, I had a pretty awkward time at McDonald's, me being the only person there, and ordering breakfast in a suit. Now that was definitely the weirdest, most awkward part of the day. And the rest of the morning was pretty chill, mostly with phone calls and emails, which kept me busy. And for lunch, I had some delicious orange chicken with rice and broccoli, which, like I said, is one of the greatest food combos of all time. After filling myself up with food like a balloon, I went back to the afternoon business, phone calls, emails, meetings, and briefings. And it wasn't boring in any way, because these are things that I had to get done. I then had some delicious pizza, watched more news, and relaxed by watching college football and spending time with family. Now that day one is almost over, I feel pretty good physically and emotionally, and hopefully I stayed like that for the rest of the week, because I don't know how I'll do getting 5 hours of sleep every night, waking up at 5:30 and going to bed at midnight. Donald Trump's daily routine is absolutely insane, and I'm trying to survive his daily routine for 1 week, and today I'm on day 2 of the challenge. Yesterday I started off the challenge at 5:30 a.m. when Donald Trump usually wakes up, and it dragged me for about the first 30 minutes until 6, and then I got into the swing of things. Yesterday was jam-packed full of tons of activities, and I ended up going to bed at midnight when Donald Trump goes to bed, and I was absolutely cooked when I woke up the second day. And without further ado, this is day 2 in trying to survive a week in the life of Donald Trump. This morning I woke up a little after 5:30 at around 6 o'clock, and I woke up with a little bit of a headache, but that went away as the morning continued. Now I would have started the week by changing into my suit, but once a week Donald Trump shaves, and I thought it would do it this morning because I had to shave anyways. And once I finished shaving, I hopped straight into Trump's suit. And it didn't feel as weird as it did yesterday putting on a suit at 6:30 in the morning, because I knew how my day would go and what it would look like. And that really helped because I knew what to expect physically and emotionally, because Trump's daily routine is no joke. Yesterday, I was somewhat bracing myself for the challenge, but today, even with a headache, I went head on. After I changed and was ready for the intense day, I watched the early morning news, which is something that Trump does every day after he wakes up. The main reason why Trump follows up on the news is because number one, he likes to stay informed, and number two, so he can make a comment on anything that happens. And after watching the news, my headache from earlier that I woke up with was starting to come back, but I decided to truck on and not even care about it. And I was able to see the sunrise, which gave me hope for the day. I followed watching the news by reading the Washington Post online. A lot of the articles were very interesting, and I spent reading the newspaper for about 15 minutes. And once Trump finishes reading the newspaper and watching news, he's usually hungry about that time, and so am I. So I decided it would be a perfect time to eat some breakfast. Once I finished eating cereal, I ate some scrambled eggs because those are one of Donald Trump's favorite breakfast foods. He enjoys eggs fried, poached, or scrambled, but his favorite are scrambled. My research didn't exactly say how many scrambled eggs Donald Trump eats, but I thought 4 would be a good amount. Trump typically likes his scrambled eggs a little bit watery and not completely done, and it's actually insanely delicious. After breakfast, I hopped right into my business meetings, and I made a few phone calls and typed up a few emails, but that was really all that I did. But once I finished my meetings, I forgot that I hadn't brushed my teeth from breakfast, so I quickly did that. And when Donald Trump finishes his morning routine, oftentimes he goes for a walk around the White House grounds, or one of his beautiful properties. But since I don't own any luxurious properties and I don't live at the White House, I literally went on a trip out of state just to get these next few clips. And because I spent a chunk of the day just getting those few clips, I ended up skipping out and not eating lunch. But that's fine, because on occasion, Donald Trump skips his meals because he's so busy. So I missed a big part of the day by traveling, but that's fine because Trump travels all over the place. And I still had 6 hours to finish his daily routine. So I was in good shape. And when I got home, the first thing I did was turn on the TV to see the news and if anything important had happened. Once I finished watching the news, my stomach told me that it was dinner time because, as you may remember, I didn't eat any lunch. So I ended up skipping my business calls, meetings, texts, and emails so I could eat dinner. Dinner was absolutely delicious. I had some rice with some barbecued chicken, which was absolutely delicious. And as you may know, chicken is one of Donald Trump's favorite foods. It doesn't matter what type of chicken it is or how it's done, he will eat it. I personally made it a goal to eat some greens with the dinner because that's something that Trump lacks in his diet.
Nice.
As I was finishing my dinner, I realized that I need some post-dinner entertainment. And one of the many things that Trump likes to do in the evenings is watch UFC fights. And sometimes Donald Trump even goes to UFC fights in person. And when he does, this is what happens.
Donald Trump, their respects to the former leader of these United States of America. Donald Trump is a massive UFC fan. He's watching our fight nights at home, but he is an omnipresent fan. All right, next on ESPN2 Men's College Hoops, NC State.
So I watched UFC fights for 30 minutes and then I kind of got bored because I don't really enjoy watching people hurt each other, but it was entertaining while it lasted. I definitely enjoyed watching college football more yesterday than I did watching UFC today. I understand that Trump likes the intensity of UFC and how it's quick and you've always got to stay on your toes, but at the same time it's not really my thing. So for the rest of the week, I think I'm going to be sticking to college football and NFL games because playoffs start really soon. But nevertheless, I really enjoyed watching Trump show up at the UFC fight and people going crazy. It always gives me chills when famous people do stuff like that. A little bit later in the night, after watching UFC, I flipped on the news and saw about the tragic wildfires that are happening in California. The whole situation is tragic, and my prayers go out to the loved ones of those who have died and lost everything. So then I made phone calls to my family like Trump does, and I told them about the challenge I was doing. I also told my friends as well, and it was a very chill time. And I told them a little bit of detail, but I said you've got to wait until this comes out. I really enjoyed how my friends and family were interested in this challenge I'm doing, even if they didn't like Trump at all. And I don't mean to spark any controversy with the series. I'm just trying to focus on Trump's daily routine as a businessman. Anyways, after my phone calls, I went off to bed. It was a little bit before 12, but I just couldn't anymore. And I really didn't want to get sick for this challenge, so I thought that would be an appropriate time to go to bed. And instead of me telling you about when I went to bed, let me tell you when I actually went to bed. Hey everyone, this is the end of day 2 of trying to survive a week in the life of Donald Trump. And I'm kind of getting hit hard right now. I was trying to stay up until midnight, but I just couldn't. And right now it's a little bit after 11, and I need sleep. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, this is raw, uncut footage right now. I need sleep. I'm starting with a runny nose. I had a headache a lot, big part of the morning today. And I just need sleep. I'm just hoping not to get sick because that would just completely ruin this challenge. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Hopefully tomorrow I wake up feeling better. I'm aiming to wake up at 6 instead of 5:30 just so I can get a 30 extra minutes of sleep. And that would be banger if I did. That's kind of where things are at right now. Hoping I feel rejuvenated tomorrow after this 6.5 hour sleep I'm going to get. So until then, I'm praying for myself. Hope I do well. Hope I get a lot of sleep tonight. And you guys know how it is. Video every day for the next week leading up to Trump's inauguration. So yeah, thanks for sticking in. This is very real time I'm having with you guys. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe, it would mean the world because I'm going drastic measures to do this. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. I just woke up a few minutes ago. Day 3. Today I woke up a little bit later than I usually do because I felt so poorly the night before. And when I woke up I felt fine but not the greatest. So I decided to take a shower. And as you see me now putting on the buttons, I was wondering then, how is it possible that Trump can survive this routine? I'm getting 5 hours of sleep, but sometimes he gets 2 to 3. I can't imagine how he survives his daily routine. So far after showering I feel fine. It's around 6:30 in the morning. And last night I felt terrible, but this morning I feel not perfect, but a lot better than last night for sure. And as I was combing my hair, I was getting locked in for the crazy day that was ahead. I knew I had a good 16 to 18 hour day left, so I was getting right early in the morning. And you know, as they say, look good, feel good. And even though I'm not the most comfortable in a suit, it made me feel professional, just like Trump. And today in particular, I'm feeling much appreciation for politicians both sides of the aisle for what they go through. Especially Trump, who leads a country with a few hours of sleep each night. Anyways, I finished getting ready by putting on my tie, making sure it was sharp, and getting ready to go meet the sun. So I started the day by reading the newspaper, something that Trump loves to do every morning, but it was very relaxing just to read the paper and do something chill that I never really do. But am I missing out at all that I don't usually read the paper? Not at all. And one main reason why Trump loves reading the newspaper is because he loves to see what people are saying about him on articles. And if there's something he disagrees with that's controversial about him, he'll call the newspaper out and correct them on his favorite social media, X. After I read the newspaper, I went right to the TV, what Trump does usually every morning, and caught up on the news there. And watching TV, whether it be the news or not, whether it be news, TV shows, or movies, he's known for his television appearances, whether in interviews, rallies, or public briefings. His press conferences in particular would become a central part of his public life, where he would directly engage with reporters, and he often challenged them and called them out for questions he deemed unfair. And when Trump finishes reading the newspaper and watching the news, he goes straight into the day with his business meetings, briefings, phone calls, emails, texts, etc. It was a very chill time of me hopping into some business meetings and phone calls. And since I'm on winter break, I also did a bunch of homework as well during this time. And after 3 days of waking up between 5:30 and 6:30, I've noticed that my productivity increases earlier in the morning. So if I'm studying from 6 to 9, that's when I'm most focused. But later in the day in the morning, I just get drowsy. I'm guessing that's because I woke up early. And maybe Trump, like me, is very productive in the early morning as well. And being focused and being productive in the early morning is good, but it's not very healthy for your sleep schedule. And so far, business meetings are going pretty well. I mean, I don't feel tired at all, and it's 7:15 in the morning, so this is great. Once I saw that the moon was setting and the sun was rising, I knew it was time for breakfast. And Trump's all-time favorite breakfast is home-cooked bacon and eggs. Donald Trump has mentioned that a quick and easy breakfast for him are eggs and bacon as a typical morning meal. In various interviews and profiles, it has been reported that Trump often eats a breakfast of scrambled eggs or fried eggs, and sometimes a side of pancakes along with it. The fried egg and bacon were extremely good. They were almost as good as my day one breakfast, which was the Egg McMuffin. I also had a little bit of toast with honey on it. I literally devoured the food in 2 minutes or less. Once I finished breakfast and brushed my teeth, it was back to the phone calls and texts. During this time, I chatted with a few friends and took a break from the homework I was studying. Once I finished chatting with friends, it was right back to homework. But if he's not at the White House, he takes a walk around one of his properties. But like I said yesterday, I don't live at the White House and I don't have any beautiful properties that I own. So I got more clips from yesterday when I went out of state to the beautiful park. After my walk, I immediately ate dinner, and today it was some fettuccine alfredo. Now Trump isn't known for liking fettuccine alfredo, but he does like Italian food a lot, specifically pizza, and in this case, pasta. Nevertheless, I thought it would be somewhat of a healthier alternative to what I've been eating yesterday and the day before yesterday. I went to the bank to deposit some money, and I also went to see if I could cash out a $2024 bill of Donald Trump. So I'm going to see if I can deposit this $2024 bill of Trump on it, and if I do, it's going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to my life. But before I ask the bank teller if I could cash out this bill, let me know in the comments, do you think they'll let me do it? And I was wondering, in the light of the coming election, would I be allowed to cash this out for $2,024? No? Oh, I thought it would be worth it. So unfortunately, the teller did not want my Trump bill, but that's fine because I was just doing it as a joke anyway. Once I got home from the bank, I sat down and ate some dinner. Today it was meatloaf, which Trump really enjoys. It's one of his favorite lunch foods and he eats it for dinner as well. Trump's favorite meatloaf is Melania's home-cooked meatloaf. And after dinner, I was so tired I changed out of my suit and into my pajamas. Because I'm going to need some sleep if I'm going to get through this week. Especially because I knew a lot of editing was coming my way. Because I knew I was going to be editing day 1 the next day, and then day 2, day 3, and so on. Trump's daily routine is a whirlwind of chaos and unpredictability. A constant barrage of high-stakes decisions, media scrutiny, and intense pressure. It's a routine that defies traditional structure with little room for downtime or personal space. And even from the moment he wakes up, it's an immediate drive with a flurry of media reports setting the tone for his day. His schedule is crammed with back-to-back meetings, last-minute changes, and non-stop decision-making. There's literally no time for a slow morning or leisurely breakfast. His day is always packed with urgent matters that demand his attention. As if managing a country or a global business empire weren't enough. Trump's day is just filled with so much unpredictability, he doesn't know what's going to happen most of the time. And there's no time for him to catch his breath. Just when he thinks he's caught up on business and such, more issues arise, forcing him to pivot and adapt in real time. The pressure is honestly relentless, with hundreds of public appearances, like rallies, and the constant need to engage with a world that never stops spinning. A race against time where the boundaries between work, public life, and personal moments blur, and it leaves him little room for respite. It's a schedule that, to most, seems unsustainable, but yet Trump powers through it day after day, embodying a level of intensity only few can maintain. Like for me, I don't even know if I'm getting through this week, to be honest. But I've come so far already, there's no stopping now. Anyways, today I went to bed at around 11, just to save myself an extra hour of sleep because I was going to be doing a lot of video editing the next day. Today has been day 3 of surviving Donald Trump's daily routine. Come back in 2 days for day 4. This morning was a pretty early rise for me, but I had to jump straight into the day. As I was dressing into Trump's attire, I was thinking about how I must feel every day waking up between 5:30 and 6 a.m. and going to bed in the early morning. Whether we like Trump or not, we have to admit that his dedication to waking up early and getting on the grind is admirable. But at the same time, waking up so early is terrible for your body. You can literally develop heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, obesity, and depression. And Trump's been consistently having this routine for years and years on end, and his health seems to be fine. So this brings up another question. What happens if you don't get enough sleep years and years on end? And since my curiosity was piqued, I googled it to see what would happen. In the long term, chronic sleep deprivation may lead to a host of health problems including obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even early mortality. And yeah, something you learn from this Trump series is that you need 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night if you don't want to die early. And as I was finishing putting on my suit, I came to the conclusion that Trump just gets used to waking up early and not getting enough sleep at night. Because if this were my daily routine for a year, I would literally be cooked. And it's almost amazing to think about how long Trump has endured this routine. And on top of that, having a terrible diet. It was even reported that he drank 12 cans of soda in one day. As I transitioned into the start of the day, it was really hard to do so because it was very cold and very dark outside. And also just really quiet, which I like and I don't like at the same time. But that wouldn't stop me from doing my morning routine, so I hopped right into watching the news and reading the newspaper. And watching the news and reading the newspaper first thing in the morning isn't my favorite thing to do, but I find it kind of chill in a way. Almost like time gets slowed down and I can sit down and do something that I don't usually do. And the ambiance and the quiet of the morning made it even better. One of the main reasons why Trump loves reading the newspaper is because he loves looking for articles about himself, seeing if they're true or fake, and then replying to them on Twitter, now called X. And once I finished watching the news, the hectic part of the morning was just ahead. I started with business meetings first, and then I decided I was going to do my briefings, phone calls, and homework later. And I just want to clear up that when I say business meetings, briefings, and phone calls, etc., that means Zoom meetings, talking with friends on the phone, doing homework, predominantly homework, and any other responsibility that comes my way. Now obviously this isn't my usual routine, so I filmed over Christmas break. And once I finished the business meetings, I looked out a window in the house and saw one of the most gorgeous sunrises I had ever seen. My camera doesn't even do it justice. The sky was on purplish pink fire, and where the sun was coming up, it was pure gold. The sunrise definitely gave me hope that I can complete this Trump challenge. Once I had been rejuvenated and blessed by the sunrise, I made some oatmeal, something that Trump has on occasion.
A few moments later.
Once I finished breakfast, I went back to my business meetings and considered buying and taking over the Panama Canal, something that Trump has shown much interest in. After I considered regaining control of the Panama Canal, my lack of sleep was starting to catch up with me. So I had to get up and do something, so I took some phone calls. I called a few of my friends and chatted with them for a while. After the phone calls, I started to get hungry again because all I had was oatmeal and it had already been around 3 hours, so I started to prepare lunch. And for lunch today, I tried to sidestep Trump's diet a little bit so I could have a little bit of greens and something healthy for once this week. When I was researching Trump's diet, I couldn't find anything relatively healthy for him that he eats. And since I've been eating mostly junk food for the past 3 days, believe it or not, this vegetable dish I had tasted amazing. It was delicious to have some real food again for the first time in days. After this challenge, I'm personally never going to take healthy food for granted ever again. And now to top lunch off, I had one of Trump's favorite desserts of all time, ice cream. As you probably know by now, Trump has a very big sweet tooth, particularly for ice cream. He's been photographed eating it on several occasions, and it's even mentioned in some of his interviews and books. And there's nothing better than ice cream with entertainment. So I ate ice cream while enjoying watching the Bills and Broncos game. Now looking back on day 4, this was probably the most enjoyable, relaxing time I had in the first few days of this challenge. I had cookies and cream and chocolate ice cream with entertainment to go along with it. It was literally divine. Once I finished my favorite moment of the day, I considered changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, something that Trump has shown strong interest in. And I don't know much about the Gulf of Mexico, but what I do know is that there's tons of sharks there, and it has beautiful coral reefs. After considering the name change of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, I sat down in my easy chair and relaxed by reading the newspaper after a delicious lunch. And once again, reading the newspaper was chill, but for me personally, it's even better to read it in the morning when it's still dark outside, when there's that ambiance. Trump has stated in previous interviews and reports that his favorite newspapers are the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. I'm guessing those in particular because he's from New York. And Trump has also emphasized his preference for print over digital news sources. In fact, during his first presidency, he was known to start off the day with a stack of newspapers, which he would carefully read, often marking them up with notes, and later making comments on them on Twitter. After reading the newspaper, I continued to stay locked in on the news by watching the news on TV. And it was saddening and also disturbing to hear what was going on in California. I feel like the only news I ever hear about California are wildfires and earthquakes. That's it. And whatever the problem is, I hope it gets resolved soon. My prayers go out to those of the state of California, to those who've lost family members, and for those who've had to evacuate their houses, and for some who've even had their houses burned down. After watching the news and reading the newspaper, I did more business meetings and considered buying the country of Greenland. Donald Trump has shown a lot of interest in Greenland, assumably as a military position. And actually, Donald Trump's been interested in buying Greenland for a while now. His interest first came to light in 2019 when he publicly expressed the idea of purchasing the territory from Denmark. His reasoning, as he explained, was primarily strategic. He believes that Greenland, with its natural vast resources and strategic location near the Arctic, could be an asset for the United States. And I find it fascinating that he cares about Greenland so much because in the grand scheme of things, it's not really talked about and kind of irrelevant. Anyways, the afternoon quickly turned into night, and I called some family members to check up on them to see how they were doing, something that Trump does usually every evening. It was a very relaxing time and I made some good memories, though it was starting to get pretty late, and my sleep deprivation was catching up with me. After calling family, there's nothing like some late night ice cream and watching some news. I also started editing day 2 of this challenge, and I did all that for about an hour and it was starting to get late. I was starting to develop a headache, and even though it was only 11:30 and I had to wait another 30 minutes before going to bed, I just went to bed because I wanted to feel decent enough for the next 3 days of me doing this challenge. And with that, I was cooked. It was 11:45 and that's when I went to bed. In this moment of sleep deprivation, there's nothing in the world I wanted more than sleep. This has been day 4 of the Trump challenge. But I have, and now I'm on day 5. But can I survive a week in the life of Donald Trump? Watch and find out. This is day 5. I just slept through my alarm clock that went off at 7 and now it's 8. So we're starting a little bit later to the day, but I think that's fine because Trump has to sleep in sometimes. I mean, he can't wake up consistently so early every day, so. And I do feel well rested. I'm just a little groggy and tired. I'm gonna start the day off with a shower because I need to wake up. So right now I feel refreshed after taking the shower. And that's good because when I woke up I was just very groggy and not wanting to start the day. But since it was already so late, I felt like I had to. Overall, I felt really good and refreshed from sleeping in. I wasn't going to beat myself up that I didn't wake up from 5:30 to 6 because I really did need the sleep if I'm going to survive this challenge. And I couldn't find this in my research, but it's kind of obvious that Trump has to sleep in sometimes. He can't wake up at 5:30 every day. And what makes this challenge so difficult for me personally is that I usually go to bed at 9:30 and have my laid out at 10. And I wake up at 7 to 7:30. Whereas now, for the past 4 days, I've been going to bed a few hours later than I usually do and wake up a few hours earlier than I usually do. Now, if you've been watching the Trump series already, you know that the first thing I do in the morning is catch up on the news like Trump does. But today, I thought I would weigh myself to see how much weight I've gained in the past 4 days. So I weighed myself before this challenge about a week ago, and I weighed 157 pounds.
Bruh.
I've literally gained 4 pounds in 4 days. Yeah, that is not good. Now, once I finished weighing myself and feeling fat, I went straight to Trump's morning routine, where the first thing he does is watches the news. The news wasn't very interesting today, not much going on, but nevertheless, it was really chill watching it, as it is every day in the early morning. After watching the news, I decided to have some oatmeal, which is a go-to for Trump for breakfast. I followed the oatmeal with eating an orange, something that Trump enjoys to eat, but he hasn't talked about it much. Trump doesn't usually eat fruit, but he does sometimes. When I finished breakfast, I went to my business meetings, briefings, phone calls, and homework I had because it was over Christmas break. I finished writing an essay about talent versus determination. After I finished writing the essay, I studied a little bit of economics, which is an elective class I'm taking for the second semester. I felt smart studying because obviously Trump studied economics for years, and then he became a multi-billion-dollar businessman. Once I finished studying economics, I went straight to business meetings, and when I say business meetings, I just mean Zoom calls. Trump uses Zoom for his meetings quite frequently with world leaders and also in his court cases. Following my Zoom meeting, it was now lunchtime, but I decided today, because I had already gained 4 pounds, that I was going to eat a little healthier lunch. It was a mix of avocado, lettuce, bread, egg, and tomato. Shout out to my mom for keeping me healthy. In my opinion, this was the greatest lunch I've had all week because it tasted so good to have healthy food again. After the meetings, I went back to homework and Zoom meets, but something wasn't right. My sleep depravity was once again catching up with me. Guys, I think I'm gonna have to nap soon. I'm falling asleep in this chair, so I don't have to stand up, but then that would be awkward because I couldn't do my business stuff and homework, so I think that's what I'm gonna do. I had already been blowing my nose during the morning, and I was hoping I wasn't getting sick. So I decided to take a quick power nap, hoping that when I woke up I would feel a lot better. So I literally hopped into bed with my suit on, minus the blazer which I took off. Little did I know that when I was going to bed, I was going to have one of the best naps of my life. I was asleep for almost 2 hours, and that may have been the best nap of my life, ever. I started my nap at around 2:30 and woke up at around 4:45. Since the time is now 5 o'clock, I'm going to have a little earlier dinner and go to Chick-fil-A and pick up some food.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Can I get a name for today?
Yes, Donald.
What can I get for you?
Can I get number 1 meal?
One meal, what drink?
Root beer, please.
Root beer? Alright. And anything else?
Medium fry. Does that go with it?
Yes.
Okay. And then barbecue sauce as well.
Gotcha.
I didn't know I was going to say Donald.
For Donald.
Yes.
What do you want to say?
There you go. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Oh, wait, you
Appreciate you. Guys, that may have been the most embarrassing. Okay, hold on. I gotta see. I don't want to crash here. Hold on. Oh my gosh, that may have been the most embarrassing moment of my life. I didn't know I was going to say Donald, but that's just what came out. Guys, that was insane. I was just. Pain is temporary. Memories are forever. Cheers. Once I got home from Chick-fil-A and finished eating dinner, I watched some college football, which is one of Donald Trump's favorite activities to do in the evening. I've been editing videos for a while now, and it's nearing 11 o'clock, and I'm starting to get sleepy, but I'm going to hang in there, edit a little bit more until 12, and then I'm going to go to bed. I think I can make it today because of that nap I had earlier. Right now, it's 10 of 12, and that time editing went by pretty quickly, and I just finished editing day 2 or day 3. I don't remember at this point. It feels good to be done, and hopefully I can have another nap tomorrow in case I feel down like I did this morning. And yeah, I can't believe 2 more days, and that's the end of the Trump series, which is crazy to say because this has been the longest week of my life. So anyways, let me go back to the narration. Once I finished changing out of my suit, I hopped in my pajamas and went to bed at around 11:45. Today's been a very funny and wild day, to say the least. From going to Chick-fil-A and saying Donald when I didn't expect to say Donald, and then taking a nap for a few hours, it's been interesting to say the least. But now that I'm finished with day 5, that means I have 2 days left in the Trump series, which is it's ridiculous to believe because I feel like I just started, but also at the same time this has been the longest week of my life, so I'm ready for it to end because I need some sleep. And now it's around 12 o'clock midnight, so that means it's bedtime. I have successfully survived another day in the life of Donald Trump, Stay tuned for day 6, which is coming soon. When I woke up at 6 a.m., I wasn't feeling that bad because I knew I only had to do it one more time. And I was highly looking forward to ending this challenge so I can get some sleep again. But aside from that, I knew I had a job to do today. Even though I was sleep deprived, I knew I had a job to do today. I was going to stay productive and not waste my time for the entire day. And I was thinking about it, and famous people like Trump literally don't have time to waste their time. But I feel like Trump's productivity is also grounded in his overreaching philosophy of winning. He has consistently emphasized the importance of having a winner mindset. This focus on success and his refusal to accept failure has kept him consistently productive and driven towards his goals. So what's the difference if I try that out? So I tied my tie and set it straight with confidence for the day. I dismissed my feelings of headaches and being sick, and it actually really helped. And maybe today, day 6, I've finally gotten used to his routine. So with all these things in mind, I was ready for the day. I was ready to go 110% for the next 24 and 48 hours. Once I had freshened up and gotten ready for the day, the first thing I did was watch the morning news, something that Trump almost always does. He does it to stay informed on current events and also so that he can comment on things that are happening, especially if they're pertaining to him that he doesn't agree with. Once the news was over, I started to watch the sunrise, except that I only saw the sun for a few seconds because it was a cloudy day. After Trump watches the news, he locks in and writes some emails and makes some important phone calls right before he eats breakfast. So that's what I did for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I had to stop because I was getting hungry. Now so far for breakfast, I've had quite a variety of things, most notably going to McDonald's on day 1. But today I thought I'd have something that Trump really enjoys but he doesn't even talk about much, and that is sausage with pancakes. Any American related breakfast Trump thrives on. Trump just loves food, especially if it's American food, and unhealthy usually. But as I'm sure you're already aware, health is not a concern for the series. And with that being said, I devoured 3 pancakes and 6 sausages. And business meetings for me are just pretty much homework because this was over Christmas break. And while I was researching and studying things, I realized that Trump is doing work all day long, every day. He literally has no days off to keep pushing through even though I didn't feel very well. And after a while, I needed to take a break, and I'm sure Trump takes breaks too because I was gassed. And other times I didn't record, similar to this time, I just had to take a break and I just sat, looked outside, and slowed things down. Once I finished my break, I realized that tomorrow was January 20th, and that's the day when Donald Trump is going to be inaugurated. And since I'm doing a week in his life, I guess I have to be inaugurated too. So I spent this time getting executive orders ready that I'm going to sign on day 7. Once I finished writing my executive orders, I sat down to take another rest because I wasn't doing well. And I caught up on the news by reading the newspaper. Reading the newspaper is actually pretty interesting, and I can see why Trump enjoys it so much. It's kind of like watching the news, but instead of people telling you stuff, you kind of tell yourself. And you can see all the major headlines in about a minute instead of watching TV and waiting for them to cover a story. Donald Trump's preferred newspaper, though, is the New York Times, obviously because he's from New York. He also enjoys reading a bunch of other newspapers like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, USA Today, the Washington Post, etc. None of which I've ever read, but I don't think I'm missing out. And right before lunch, I attended one more business briefing, which was just a Zoom call. And I kept having to lock in because I was so exhausted. But I kept having a winner mentality, which helped me throughout the entire day. I wasn't going to give up, and I wasn't going to quit. Now for lunch, I had some Chinese food, which Trump doesn't talk about a lot, but he thoroughly enjoys. These were just leftovers I had from day 1. And honestly, I think it's great that Trump loves Chinese food because so do I. So lunch for me on day 6 was probably the easiest time of the day. I would literally give anything to eat this again. And once lunch ends, Trump goes right back to watching the news to stay informed on the events that are happening of the day. Whether it's updates on things that have already happened or things that have just happened. And Trump is very much a consumer, so he intakes so many things. And while I was watching the news, I didn't get sleepy because I already have been the past few days. So I was debating whether I should have a nap or not. But I decided not to. I put my head down and I kept working and staying on the grind. A 30-minute to a couple hour nap wasn't going to fix my sleep deprivation. I was going to keep working and working and working for the next 2 days. Trump has even been reported by his family members to not sleep for 48 hours straight. And so with that in mind, along with the winner mentality, I was ready to fight my sleep deprivation. And the thought of being able to sleep in just 2 days helped me even more. I spent about the next 30 minutes studying, but that was very hard because I kept losing focus. So then I got distracted and started researching the country of Greenland, which Trump wants to buy. And the ironic thing I learned about it is that it's not green very much at all. It's just mainly icy. Once I finished researching Greenland, I made a few phone calls, something that Trump does throughout the day, but mostly in the morning and in the afternoon. For me personally, phone calls are my favorite form of communication. I just find it very fun to talk to someone on the phone. And something that's made it even better is that every time I make a phone call from now on, I always feel important. And once again, after the phone calls, my energy from those was short-lived because I was debating whether to take a nap again. But I fought the temptation. I fought the natural urge. I stayed unhealthy and didn't take a wink of sleep. But it cost me though, because as soon as evening was rolling around, I started walking around like a zombie. My hope was that I would be able to be awake tomorrow and that I wouldn't sleep the entire day away. Now with that being said, it was getting early in the evening, so that meant it was time for dinner. I had some chicken with some stuffing and cranberry sauce with broccoli. And Donald Trump likes any type of chicken, especially KFC chicken. Along with KFC, he is known to have been a big fan of Chick-fil-A chicken as well. I mean, who wouldn't like Chick-fil-A? Their stuff is delicious. After I devoured my dinner, I went straight to the TV to watch the news, and honestly not much has been on today other than news about the California wildfires. It's a tragedy that happens too often. I feel like California is always in an earthquake or a wildfire. Then after watching the news, I switched my activities and watched some exciting college football. Watching college football and UFC fights are two of Donald Trump's favorite things to watch, and he usually watches them after the day if he has time in the evenings. And once I got bored from watching college football, I was literally like, I literally can't do this any longer. And since it was 11:45, I knew that it was time for bed. So I wasted no time in taking off my Trump suit and putting my pajamas on, especially because I knew I had planned a big day tomorrow, and it was also day 7 of the series. I was going to end the series with an absolute banger of an episode. Aside from that, my circadian rhythm was cranking 90s, especially because it was 10 of 12. Now, I won't lie to you, this is one of the most tired moments I've been in my life, and nothing felt better than a warm, soft bed. Even if I didn't have a bed, I would lie on the cold floor and literally fall asleep. It didn't matter where I was. Standing, sitting, walking, I was going to fall asleep. So I threw on my pajamas, hopped in bed, and I had this to say. End of day 6 for the Trump series, and this is me at midnight right now. And I'm not doing well, so I'm going to say a few things and then shut off the camera because I have to sleep. I was thinking about it today, and Trump has obviously gotten into the habit of going to bed late and waking up super early. Now, in my opinion, that's not a good habit, but for others who can do that, it's a good habit for them. What I'm trying to say is that you should develop good habits, especially if you're young, because they will stick with you. For example, when I was younger, I got into the habit of brushing my teeth at least once every single day, and now I'm 17 and that's still stuck with me. And I feel like having good habits prevents you from making bad choices. For example, if you know you're going to do something at a certain time, there's no need for any distractions because you know you're going to be doing it, and you're in the habit of doing it. And that's kind of like Trump with going to bed late and waking up early. And of course, some people can eat the way he does and have his routine and they'll be fine, even though it's not really healthy. Some people can get 4 or 5 hours of sleep and they can run on it consistently, whereas I need at least 7 or 8, and I've been getting 5 to 7 the past few nights. And on top of that, I've been eating terribly too. So yeah, that's my little rant I have to say about good habits. If you enjoyed that rant and learned something new about having good habits, let me know in the comment section. And that's it for day 6 of the Trump Challenge. 1 day left, Inauguration Day, where I'm going to get inaugurated. I'm going to sign a few fun bills and executive orders, and it's going to be great. I also have a ton planned for tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But until then. For the past 6 days, I've attempted to survive Donald Trump's daily routine. It's been a very wild ride, from waking up early in the morning at 5:30 to going to bed past midnight. From getting breakfast at McDonald's to going through the drive-thru at Chick-fil-A and saying your name is Donald. Yes, Donald. From literally getting sick and feeling better the next day within 12 hours. From making phone calls and writing constant emails. Well, today is day 7, the final boss. All I have is 24 hours left. Watch and find out. Day 7 at 7 a.m. Now the first thing I had to do on day 7 was get a fresh cut because today I was being inaugurated and I'm signing a few executive orders later in the video. Now I didn't record myself having a fresh cut, but yes, I did do it myself at my house, and I just gave myself a shave off to the sides, not a fade or anything. Now, I was going to make my hairstyle like Donald Trump's, but first of all, it wasn't really long enough, and second of all, I didn't want to look like Donald Trump after this challenge because I'm tired of being Donald Trump and I'm ready to end this challenge. I'm ready to be myself again because I don't envy Donald Trump in any way. But the problem is I still have an entire day to live in his routine and then things can go back to normal. And at this point, I've been so sleep deprived that I've just felt numb. So being tired today wasn't as bad as other days, but I'm wondering if it was concerning that I was numb. If you've been following the Trump series, you know that I usually start off the day by reading the news or watching the TV. But today's a little different. Today I'm going to sign executive orders that pertain to you specifically. But before I did that, breakfast was first. This morning's breakfast was probably the best one of the series because I had quiche, bacon, and biscuits with gravy, which are 3 of my favorite foods, but all in one breakfast. Now in my weeks of research, I couldn't find any news if Trump liked biscuits and gravy, quiche, or bacon, but I could find that he did like bacon, so that would probably be his favorite part of the breakfast. And right after breakfast was done, it was time to be inaugurated and to sign a few executive orders. But first I had to get ready. Now believe it or not, the first thing I did to get ready was get out of my fancy shoes, change to Crocs because dressy shoes are very uncomfortable if you wear them for a week straight. And the next thing I did was set up my tripod, phone, and audio system to pick up me writing executive orders. Now before I sign this bill as president, let me read it for all you at home. All individuals currently watching the video are hereby required to click the subscribe button to remain informed on future content releases. All viewers must immediately press the like button to demonstrate their unwavering support to this channel. To ensure the expansion of growing the channel, viewers are strongly encouraged to share the Trump series with friends and family. Failure to comply with this executive order may result in extreme FOMO, or fear of missing out, and potential regret over missing legendary content. Failure to comply with this executive order may result in the extreme FOMO, the fear of missing out, and potential regret over missing legendary content. The executive order is now law. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share with your friends and family if you don't want FOMO. And now that I'm quote-unquote president and I've signed my official documents, it was time to continue with Trump's routine, with checking out the news and then eating lunch. Now if you haven't been following the Trump series, let me tell you about one of Trump's main hobbies, and that is watching the news. When he wakes up and during meals, he watches the news consistently. And he especially likes the news about him because if he doesn't agree with something, he'll go on a social media platform like X and comment about it. I think it's safe to say that he's addicted to watching the TV. But after I was done watching the news, the sleepiness was starting to come back, so I had to remind myself that I had just one day left. One more day. The thought of completing the challenge is really what kept me going, so that was my main source of motivation. But another source of motivation is that I would be doing something different, and that is eating lunch. And when I mean different, I'll be eating something completely different, which Trump doesn't usually eat. Trump only eats this food on occasion, when his private health doctors and officials say he's been eating too much junk. One time, Trump even drank 12 cans of Diet Coke in one day. So eating something a little different was way healthier for him, and healthier for me too, because I've eaten junk all week long. So the food I ended up eating for lunch was salad. And let me tell you something, I'm not a person that usually likes salad, but after eating what I ate, it was delicious. I didn't even put any sauces on it or dressings at all. So I think Trump and I are similar that way, that we both don't like eating salad, but we will when we have to. And once I finished lunch, I went straight back to the news in the form of reading it in a newspaper. The newspaper I picked up was one that I'd actually been reading the day before. And I can really see why Trump likes to read the news so much, because you literally can read about yourself. I mean, I saw Trump's name at least 5 times when I was reading. But what made it less entertaining for me is that I wasn't in the news. So that was a little sad, because I would love to see my name in the newspaper, but at the same time, I don't know if that would exactly be a good thing. But anyways, once I finished catching myself up on the news and stuff that honestly in my opinion wasn't very important, I went straight to writing emails to a bunch of different people, asking them how they were doing, and I actually caught up with a lot of friends that I hadn't talked with for a while. And once Trump gets all his responsibilities out of the way, his favorite part of the day comes, and that is eating ice cream and watching college football. I really enjoyed eating ice cream and watching college football, but most importantly eating ice cream because I'm not as big as a football freak as Donald Trump is. But for those college football freaks who are out there, I watched the highlights between Ohio State and Notre Dame in the championship. And after enjoying ice cream and watching college football highlights, I kept the TV on so I could stay informed on the news. And once that was finished, I wasn't feeling well at all. So I just hopped on the computer, chatted with friends, and watched YouTube videos. And of course, I had to write a few emails because that's what Trump does. And at this point, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Less than 8 hours to go. And the time really flew when I watched video after video after video. All of a sudden, it was 6 o'clock. And that meant it was dinner time, and I ended up having pizza for dinner, which is leftovers of what I had a previous night. And so I heated up 2 pieces of pizza, and that was my dinner. And I'm starting to feel guilty eating all this junk food because I've gained 4.3 pounds in the past 6 days. And surprisingly, I don't know how Trump stays relatively thin after all the stuff that he eats. Or maybe it's just that I get fat easily. And after dinner for dessert, I had some cinnamon buns, which were hands down the greatest thing I ate all week long. I was going to have them for breakfast, but I instead had them for dessert because I would have eaten too much for breakfast, and that's not good. And after the last dinner of the Trump series, I hopped on the computer and responded to emails which I had sent out earlier that day. Then I watched the evening news, and after that, it was around 9 o'clock at night. And guess who was on the news? The one and only Donald Trump. And funny enough, I've been following the news all week, and the most that's on the news is literally Donald Trump. But that was my last time watching the news, and I was so happy about that, and I'm not going to miss hearing about the news or reading about it or watching it again. 1 hour left in the challenge before I go to bed. But I was so tired I literally couldn't wait that long. I literally can't do this any longer. Oh my gosh. So it was time to go to bed. And I think it's safe to say that I've completed a week in the life of Donald Trump. But during the day I was actually recording day 7, I was too tired to share what I've learned from the week and reflect on it. So I did that after the challenge, which is the clip you're about to see right now. Wow, 7 days come and gone. Just like that. It's crazy to think that this challenge is already over. I'm glad I did this challenge because I think it's made me a better person for these reasons. I procrastinate less, I'm more responsible, and I don't waste my time as much as I did before this challenge. So although I've been sleep deprived this week, I think this week has taught me an important lesson. The things that I've learned in this past week have become habits, and the responsibility I learned is now carrying into this next week, where I'm not doing the Trump series, but just me and my personal life. I don't envy Donald Trump in any way, but there are certain aspects to his daily routine which I appreciate because they've helped me in my life. But getting 3 to 5 hours a night is not healthy, so don't be doing that. And Donald Trump's daily routine is a lot like a dream. It'll sit around, rot, and fade away unless you take responsibility, take ownership, pick it up, and do something about it and become a better person. Okay. Time to sleep now.